There's a reason why some people achieve extraordinary success while others stay stuck in the same place. It's not intelligence, it's not luck, it's mindset. And here's the truth. No one is born with an unshakable mindset. It's built. And the only way to build it is by forcing yourself to do what others won't. Before we talk about how to build a strong mindset, we need to ask, why does it matter? Because success isn't about what you have, it's about what you believe is possible. People who accomplish great things don't just work hard, they work with purpose. They don't wake up every morning asking, what do I have to do today? They wake up asking, who am I becoming? Most people run from discomfort. The strongest minds run toward it. If you only do what's easy, you'll stay exactly where you are. If you force yourself to do what's difficult, you'll grow beyond what you ever thought possible. Every great leader, athlete, and entrepreneur has one thing in common. They made discomfort their best friend. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of success. The strongest minds don't see failure as something to avoid, they see it as fuel. They ask, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to improve? The difference between successful people and everyone else is not how many times they fail, it's how they respond to failure. You cannot build a strong mindset in isolation. Who you surround yourself with will shape your beliefs. If you're around people who complain, make excuses, and avoid challenges, you will too. If you surround yourself with those who push themselves, think big, and challenge their limits, you will rise with them. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes. But discipline is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. The strongest minds don't rely on how they feel. They rely on the habits they've built. They do what needs to be done even when they don't feel like it. There's a moment in life when we realize that success isn't just about working harder or being smarter. It's about having the mindset to keep going when everything inside us tells us to stop. It's about understanding that the way we think, the way we approach challenges, and the way we respond to setbacks are far more important than any external advantage we might have. So before we talk about what it takes to build an unshakable mindset, we have to start with something deeper. We have to start with purpose. Because here's the truth. People don't push themselves beyond their limits just because they want success. They don't wake up at 5 a.m., endure rejection after rejection, or sacrifice their comfort just because they think it's a good idea. No one forces themselves through discomfort unless they have a reason that makes the struggle worth it. Purpose is the foundation of every strong mindset. Without it, discipline crumbles, motivation fades, and every setback feels like a reason to quit. Think about the people who achieve extraordinary things, the entrepreneurs who build billion-dollar companies, the athletes who break records, the artists who create timeless masterpieces. Do you think they just decided one day that they would be successful? No. They were driven by something bigger than themselves. They had a vision so powerful that quitting was never an option. They didn't just want success, they needed it. That's the difference. Most people want success, but wanting something isn't enough. Everyone wants to be in great shape, but not everyone is willing to put in the hours at the gym, eat clean, and stay disciplined every single day. Everyone wants financial freedom, but not everyone is willing to endure the uncertainty, take calculated risks, and push through failure. The people who do, they don't just want it. They believe in it so deeply that stopping isn't even a choice. So ask yourself, why do you want success? Not the surface level reasons. Not, I want to be rich or I want to be respected. Go deeper. What is the real reason? Is it to prove something to yourself? Is it to create a better life for your family? Is it because you refuse to accept mediocrity? When you find your why, everything changes. Challenges become tests of commitment rather than reasons to quit. Rejection becomes fuel instead of discouragement. The late nights, the sacrifices, the failures, they all start to feel like stepping stones rather than obstacles. Most people never reach this level of clarity. They chase goals without understanding why they matter, and when things get hard, they hesitate. They start questioning if it's worth it. But the strongest minds don't hesitate. They don't question whether they should keep going. They know they must because their purpose demands it. Consider someone training for a marathon. If their only reason for running is to get in shape, The moment their legs start burning, the moment the exhaustion sets in, they'll find an excuse to stop. But if they're running to honor a loved one, if they're running because they promised themselves they wouldn't quit, if they're running to prove something to themselves, nothing will stop them. Their body might want to quit, but their why won't let them. The same is true in every area of life. If you don't have a strong enough reason, you'll find reasons to quit. But if your purpose is clear, no amount of failure, rejection, or difficulty will shake you. So how do you find your purpose? You have to be brutally honest with yourself. Strip away the expectations of others. Forget about what sounds good on paper. Ask yourself, what truly matters to you? What is the thing that if you don't achieve it, you will regret for the rest of your life? Maybe it's proving to yourself that you're capable of more. Maybe it's creating something that outlives you. Maybe it's lifting your family out of struggle. Whatever it is, it has to be real. It has to hit you on a level so deep that no excuse will ever be strong enough to shake it. Once you find it, everything changes. The strongest mindset doesn't come from talent. It doesn't come from motivation. It comes from an unshakable belief in something greater than yourself. That belief is what drives you when you're exhausted. It's what keeps you going when no one else believes in you. It's what separates those who succeed from those who simply dream about success. Because here's the reality. Talent fades. Motivation comes and goes, but purpose lasts. And when you build your mindset on purpose, success isn't a possibility, it's inevitable. There's a moment in every person's journey when they hit a wall. When the work gets too hard, the failures pile up, and doubt starts whispering in their ear, asking if it's even worth it. This is the point where most people stop. They retreat, they look for an easier path, and they convince themselves that maybe success just wasn't meant for them. But those who achieve extraordinary things, they see this moment differently. They don't see discomfort as a sign to stop. They see it as proof that they're growing. They lean into the struggle, they embrace it. The truth is, nothing great has ever been achieved without discomfort. Every breakthrough, every innovation, every incredible feat in history was born from someone who was willing to endure what others couldn't. The strongest minds aren't the ones who avoid pain and struggle, they're the ones who seek it out, knowing that discomfort is the price of growth. Think about someone who starts lifting weights for the first time. At first, the muscles burn, the body resists, and every rep feels like a battle. It would be easier to quit, to put the weights down, to stay in the comfort of what's familiar. But if they push through, if they force themselves to keep going despite the pain, something incredible happens. Their muscles tear and rebuild, growing stronger with every session. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes effortless. The body adapts to stress, but only if it's forced to. The mind works the same way. Most people think that if something is hard, it means they're not good at it. They believe that struggle is a sign they should quit, but in reality, struggle is the only path to mastery. Every expert, every leader, every champion was once a beginner who struggled through frustration, failure, and self-doubt. The only difference? They kept going. They understood that discomfort isn't a signal to stop, it's a sign that they're on the right track. Imagine a child learning to walk. They stumble, they fall, they hit the ground again and again, but they don't stop. They don't sit down and decide that walking is just too hard. They get back up, they try again, and eventually they figure it out. Now imagine if that child had the mindset of most adults. The moment they fell, they would tell themselves, maybe walking just isn't for me. They'd give up, never knowing what they were capable of. This is what happens every day. People try something new, and the moment it becomes difficult, they decide it's not meant for them. They start a business, but quit when they don't see immediate success. They pursue a passion, but stop when they hit their first roadblock. They convince themselves that successful people just have something they don't. But that's not true. The only difference between those who succeed and those who don't is the ability to embrace discomfort. Discomfort is where growth happens. It's the space between who you are and who you want to be, and the only way to close that gap is to push through the resistance. Every time you step outside of your comfort zone, you expand it. The things that once felt terrifying become second nature. The skills that once seemed impossible become effortless. But none of that happens if you run from discomfort. Think about the most successful people in the world. The entrepreneurs who built billion-dollar companies, the athletes who broke records, the artists who changed the way we see the world. Do you think their journey was easy? Do you think they woke up one day with all the skills, all the confidence, all the knowledge they needed? Of course not. They struggled, they faced rejection, they dealt with doubt, but they kept going. They forced themselves to show up, to do the work, to push through discomfort even when it was painful, especially when it was painful. Because here's the truth, growth doesn't happen when it's easy. It happens when it's hard. When you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you feel like quitting. That's when your mindset is being built. That's when you're developing the mental toughness that separates the great from the average. Most people wait for motivation. They wait to feel ready before they take action. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. And if you rely on it, you'll never achieve anything significant. The strongest minds don't wait to feel inspired. They take action despite how they feel. They show up when they don't want to. They do the work when it's inconvenient because they know that every moment of discomfort is shaping them into the person they need to be. So the question isn't whether you'll face discomfort. You will. The question is, what will you do when it shows up? Will you retreat or will you lean in? Will you choose to see struggle as a sign to stop or will you recognize it as the price of greatness? If you can train yourself to embrace discomfort, you become unstoppable. You develop a mindset that refuses to quit, that thrives under pressure, that sees every challenge as an opportunity to grow. And when you reach that level, success is no longer a matter of if. It's only a matter of when. Failure is inevitable. It's not something to be avoided, ignored, or feared. It's something to be embraced. Every single person who has achieved extraordinary success has faced failure, often more times than they can count. The difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck is not intelligence, not talent, not luck. It's how they respond to failure. The strongest minds don't see failure as a dead end. They see it as feedback. They use it, learn from it, and let it fuel them rather than break them. Most people have been taught to fear failure. From an early age, we're conditioned to believe that mistakes mean we're doing something wrong. Schools punish wrong answers. Society rewards perfection. And over time, we internalize this idea that failure is something to be ashamed of. That if we mess up, we're not good enough. That if we try something and it doesn't work, we should never try again. But this mindset is what keeps people stuck. It's what stops them from taking risks, from pushing boundaries, from reaching their full potential. The strongest minds operate differently. They understand that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every great innovator, every legendary athlete, every world-changing entrepreneur has failed, often spectacularly. But instead of letting those failures define them, they used them as stepping stones. They studied what went wrong, adjusted their approach, and kept going. They saw every setback as an opportunity to improve. Consider the story of Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb in one flawless attempt. He failed over 1,000 times. But when asked about those failures, he didn't see them as mistakes. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is the mindset of success, the belief that every failure brings you one step closer to figuring it out. The understanding that the only real failure is giving up. Now imagine if Edison had quit after his first few failed attempts. Imagine if he had taken those failures as proof that he wasn't meant to succeed. The world would be a very different place. And yet, this is exactly what so many people do in their own lives. They try something once, maybe twice, and if it doesn't work immediately, they walk away. They assume they're not talented enough, not lucky enough, not good enough. But the truth is, they simply didn't stick with it long enough. Failure is not a reflection of your ability, it's a reflection of your willingness to keep going. The strongest minds don't see setbacks as signals to stop, they see them as opportunities to adjust and refine. If something doesn't work, they don't take it personally, they don't attach their identity to their mistakes. They analyze what happened, extract the lesson, and move forward. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, understood this better than anyone. He was cut from his high school basketball team. Most people would have taken that as a sign to quit. Instead, he used it as fuel. He worked harder than ever, determined to prove that failure wasn't going to define him. And later, at the peak of his career, he openly admitted, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot 26 times and missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." That last sentence is everything. That is why I succeed. Because failure isn't a barrier, it's a bridge. Every mistake, every setback, every rejection is another step toward mastery. The only people who never fail are the ones who never try, and the only way to truly fail is to stop learning. Most people give up too soon because they expect success to be linear. They assume that if they're on the right path, everything should fall into place smoothly. But success is never a straight line. It's filled with detours, roadblocks, and unexpected turns. The strongest minds anticipate this. They expect failure, and because they expect it, they're not thrown off by it. They don't let one bad experience define their entire journey. Think about learning to ride a bike. No one gets on a bike for the first time and rides perfectly. They fall, they scrape their knees, they wobble and crash, but they get back up. They keep trying, and eventually, without even realizing it, they master balance. That's how every skill in life works. But as we get older, we forget this process. We convince ourselves that if something doesn't come easily, it's not meant for us. That's the biggest lie we tell ourselves. If you want to develop an unshakable mindset, you have to reframe the way you see failure. Instead of fearing it, welcome it. Instead of seeing it as an ending, see it as the beginning of something new. Ask yourself after every setback, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? What adjustments need to be made? The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail the most. The difference is they refuse to let failure be the final chapter of their story. They keep turning the page, they keep rewriting, they keep showing up. And that's the real secret to success, resilience. The ability to get knocked down and stand up stronger. The willingness to take risks knowing that not all of them will pay off. The commitment to keep pushing forward even when nothing seems to be working. So the next time you fail, don't shrink. Don't run from it. Look at it head on, take the lesson, use it, and keep moving forward, because the only way to truly fail is to stop trying. There is a simple truth about success that most people overlook. Discipline will always outperform motivation. Motivation is fleeting, it's unreliable, it comes in waves, showing up when things are exciting and disappearing the moment things get hard. This is why so many people start strong but never finish. They rely on motivation to keep them going, but when motivation fades, as it always does, they stop. The strongest minds understand that success isn't about feeling inspired every day. It's about showing up, doing the work, and staying consistent no matter how they feel. Most people wait for motivation. They tell themselves they'll start their business when they feel ready. They'll go to the gym when they get the energy. They'll wake up early when they feel motivated. But this is the biggest trap there is, because motivation is unreliable. It's based on emotion, and emotions change constantly. What happens when you don't feel like it? What happens when the excitement wears off and the work becomes routine? If you rely on motivation, you'll never be consistent. And if you're not consistent, you'll never build momentum. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is showing up even when you don't. It's making the right choices, not because you feel like it, but because you've committed to a bigger goal. It's waking up early even when you're tired. It's going to the gym even when you'd rather stay in bed. It's putting in the work every single day, not just on the days you feel inspired. This is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. The strongest minds don't rely on motivation. They rely on habits, on structure, on unwavering commitment. Think about an athlete training for a championship. Do you think they always feel motivated? Do you think they wake up every morning excited to push their body to its limits? Of course not. There are days when they're exhausted, when they're sore, when they'd rather do anything else. But they train anyway, because they understand that success isn't about how they feel in the moment. It's about the long-term vision. They know that skipping one workout may not seem like a big deal, but discipline is built in the small decisions. One skipped workout turns into 2, which turns into a week, which turns into failure. That's how people lose, not in a single moment, but in small, seemingly insignificant choices that compound over time. This applies to everything in life. The business owner who wakes up at 5 a.m. every day to build their company even when they're tired will succeed over the person who only works when they feel like it. The writer who sits down and writes daily even when they have no inspiration will outperform the one who waits for creativity to strike. The student who studies every day even when they'd rather be out with friends will surpass the one who crams at the last minute. Success isn't about talent or luck, it's about discipline. The problem is, discipline isn't exciting. It doesn't give you an immediate reward. It doesn't give you that rush of inspiration that motivation does. It's slow, it's repetitive, it's often boring. And that's why so many people struggle with it. But those who learn to love the process, to embrace the grind, are the ones who rise above everyone else. They don't need motivation because they've conditioned themselves to take action regardless of how they feel. Consider the Navy SEALs, some of the toughest individuals in the world. Their training is brutal. It's designed to push them past every physical and mental limit. Do you think they rely on motivation to get through it? No, they rely on discipline. They don't think about whether they feel like running another mile or doing another set of push-ups. They just do it. Because when discipline becomes your foundation, success is inevitable. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they need to be perfect. They believe that if they break their discipline once, it's over. This all or nothing mindset is dangerous because it leads to quitting. The truth is no one is perfect. Even the most disciplined people have off days. They miss workouts, they procrastinate, they make mistakes. But the difference is, they don't let one bad day turn into a bad week. They get back on track immediately. They don't wait for motivation to return. They don't beat themselves up. They just keep moving forward. The key to building discipline is starting small. Most people fail because they try to change everything at once. They go from waking up at 9 and to forcing themselves to wake up at 5 a.m. overnight. They go from never working out to trying to train like an athlete. And when they inevitably fail, they quit. But real discipline isn't about massive overnight changes. It's about consistency. It's about making small commitments and sticking to them until they become second nature. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Do one extra push-up. Write for 5 minutes a day. These small wins create momentum, and momentum creates success. The strongest minds understand that success isn't about motivation, nor is it about one big effort. It's about the ability to show up, to stay committed, to do the work even when no one is watching. They don't make excuses. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They take action. And over time, that action compounds into something extraordinary. So the question is not whether you feel motivated. The question is, are you disciplined enough to keep going even when you don't? Will you wake up early when your bed is warm and comfortable? Will you put in the work when no one is watching? Will you stick to your goals when the excitement fades? The answer to these questions will determine your success, because at the end of the day, motivation is temporary, but discipline lasts. And those who master it will always win. The people who achieve the greatest success in life all have one thing in common. They surround themselves with the right people. The people in your life shape your mindset more than you realize. They influence your thoughts, your habits, and even the way you see yourself. If you are constantly surrounded by people who complain, who make excuses, who settle for mediocrity, then without even realizing it, you will start to adopt those same behaviors. But if you surround yourself with people who push you, who challenge you, who hold you accountable, you will naturally rise to a higher standard. Humans are social creatures. We mirror the behaviors and attitudes of those around us. Studies have shown that if your closest friends are overweight, you are more likely to be overweight. If your friends are ambitious and goal-driven, you are more likely to adopt those traits. This is not a coincidence. It is human nature. We become like the people we spend the most time with. So if you are serious about building a strong mindset for success, you need to be intentional about who you allow into your inner circle. Many people hold on to relationships out of habit, not realizing how much those relationships are holding them back. They stay around negative people because they've known them for years. They tolerate friends who bring them down because they don't want to seem rude. But what they don't realize is that every conversation, every interaction, every negative comment plants a seed in their mind. And over time, those seeds grow into doubt, insecurity, and a fear of taking risks. Look at the most successful people in the world. They don't waste time around people who drain their energy. They don't entertain conversations filled with gossip, negativity, and small thinking. They surround themselves with people who challenge them, who push them to be better, who refuse to let them settle. They seek out mentors. They build relationships with people who inspire them, and they cut off anyone who drags them down. This doesn't mean you need to abandon people in your life, but it does mean you need to set boundaries. If you have friends who constantly complain but never take action, limit your time with them. If you have family members who doubt you and discourage your goals, don't share your dreams with them. Instead, seek out people who are doing what you want to do. Find individuals who have already built the mindset you want to develop. The strongest minds understand the power of proximity. They know that success is not just about hard work and talent. It's about putting yourself in an environment that forces you to grow. If you want to get in shape, surround yourself with people who prioritize fitness. If you want to be successful in business, spend time with entrepreneurs. If you want to be more disciplined, seek out people who live with discipline, because when you are around people who are ahead of you, it forces you to level up. It makes you uncomfortable, and discomfort is where growth happens. Think about a time when you were in a room with people who intimidated you in a good way. Maybe it was a group of high achievers, people who spoke with confidence, people who had already accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. In those moments, you feel a mix of excitement and pressure. You become hyper-aware of your own habits, your own shortcomings, your own excuses. That feeling is uncomfortable, but it is also powerful. It forces you to step up. That's the kind of environment you need to put yourself in regularly. Many people make the mistake of trying to do everything alone. They believe they can build a strong mindset through sheer willpower. But the reality is, your environment will always win. If you are constantly surrounded by negativity, you will absorb it. If you are constantly exposed to high standards, you will rise to them. This is why mentorship is so valuable. A mentor can accelerate your growth in ways you can't do on your own. They can point out blind spots, push you beyond your limits, and hold you accountable in ways that most people in your life won't. If you don't have access to mentors in person, start with books, podcasts, and interviews. Learn from the minds of those who have already achieved success. Let their words rewire your thinking. Because the more you expose yourself to high-level thinking, the more it becomes your default way of operating. There is a saying that goes, if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. This is one of the most important principles of success. The strongest minds seek out environments where they are the underdog, where they have something to prove, where they are surrounded by people who are ahead of them, because that is what forces growth. But here's the hard part. Sometimes growth requires letting go. Sometimes the people who were right for you in the past are not the people who will take you to the next level. This is not about arrogance, it's about alignment. If someone constantly makes excuses, refuses to grow, and discourages your progress, they are holding you back. And if you want to build the strongest mindset, you have to make the difficult decision to distance yourself from those who do not align with your vision. This is not easy. It will feel uncomfortable. Some people will misunderstand you. They will accuse you of changing, of being different. But that's the point. Growth requires change. And if you want to achieve extraordinary success, you cannot stay the same person you have always been. Instead of feeling guilty about outgrowing certain relationships, remind yourself that you are doing what is necessary for your future. The right people will understand. The wrong people will try to hold you back. Your job is to keep moving forward, to keep seeking out those who challenge you, and to keep putting yourself in environments that demand your best. At the end of the day, success is not a solo journey. It is built through relationships, through connections, through the people you allow into your life. If you surround yourself with winners, you will become one. If you surround yourself with people who are constantly growing, you will. And if you are intentional about the company you keep, you will build a mindset so strong that nothing can shake it.